Hey everyone, this is Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. These are our daily episodes where we talk about what went on today in our little VW restoration shop here, a little slice of heaven in Orange, California. So let me start with what I did, and then I'll talk about the other guys a little bit. New Mini Monster. I don't know how I came up with Mini Monster. I came up with it originally for this guy, I guess, describing any motor that's like smaller than a 1600 based motor that we're hot rodding. So this one, again, if you're new here, this is a 1500 cc based on a 36 horse motor. Cam worked on heads, weird Australian dual side draft carb kit. Anyway, you guys have probably all seen this one. Anyway, this is the first one I started calling a Mini Monster. Now this is its brother here. So that's basically a 1500 cc 36 horse. This is basically a 1700 cc 40 horse. So original numbers matching case to the car, which is the 64 Sea Blue Beetle that we've had in the shop for a little while. And so this is the motor. So it's a 1699 cc, which is in this case a counterweighted 74 millimeter crank, and then 85.5 millimeter, which is stock for a 1600. So basically 1600 pistons and cylinders. And then we really wanted to squeeze some more performance out of this motor. Originally, the owners and I were talking about doing like maybe a little 1776 or something. And when we figured out that the motor was numbers matching, I sort of had the conversation with them like, hey, can you guys store the motor, kind of set it aside and keep it, and then we'll build you a 1776 based on new parts, and the original motor should stay with the car. And I sort of offered that, or we could just hot rod the motor with the 40 horse numbers matching case, and then kind of do what we can with it from there. And so they actually like that idea. So Brothers Machine Shop took the 40 horse case. They opened it up for the 85.5s. The 74 millimeter crank, I believe, just drops right in these without any like stroker clearance per se. Modified it for cam bearings. They had them do the Hoover oiling mod, which gets better oil flow to this side of the case, and a bunch of other little tricks like that. It's got an Engel W90 cam, which is like bigger than stock but still pretty small, and single port, basically 1600 heads instead of the 40 horse heads. Couple reasons. One is that obviously they've got much larger ports, they flow a lot more. The other thing is, since really the way to squeeze more power out of these is of course to go with dual carbs, and good luck finding a set of dual carb manifolds and so on for a 40 horse. So we decided to just go ahead and upgrade them to the later 1300 and up style single port heads. And the only real giveaway looking at the motor to someone who really knows what they're looking at, well, a couple things. One is the manifolds will appear a little bit bigger if they're for a 1300 and up. The other is, for people who really are in the know, is that mounting surface right there of the manifold to head on 1300s and up, that mounting surface is at a slight angle. You see that right there, versus, put the camera level here. See how that's at an angle like that? On a 40 horse, boop, it sits straight. So dead giveaway when looking at a set of heads or a motor or whatever. If it's a 40 horse, the manifolds basically come straight down like this, perpendicular to the ground. Or if you will, the mounting surface is horizontal to the ground. But anyway, so small trade-off there cosmetically, but motor is gonna, I don't know, we'll see what this thing's gonna make. I'm hoping it's gonna make maybe like 70 plus, I don't know. So we put a little compression in it. I think we set it at about 8-to-1. Stock on these is on a 40 horse, I think is around 7, maybe even like 6, 8, something pretty anemic like that. So yeah, it's got some compression, it's got a cam, it's got bigger heads, it's got some CCs. It'll rev quite a bit higher because of the bigger single port heads and the fact that it's a counterweighted crank. It'll rev higher, smoother, etc., without, destroying itself like a non-counterweighted crank. So yeah, should be overall a very torquey and somewhat powerful little motor for this car, and run very smooth and so on. So as far as today is concerned, picked up the powder coating this morning. So my powder coaters knocked that out for me pretty quick. And I had got the muffler a couple days ago, I think earlier this week. And then today, kind of the last major piece of the puzzle, I will say, are these single port Kadron manifolds from Brothers Machine Shop. So guys, I did not know this until this morning, but those guys actually make these manifolds themselves. So if anyone is out there looking for a set of single port Kadron manifolds, Brothers Machine Shop is your guys. They own the molds to these, and they're having them cast themselves. So yeah, these are brand new manifolds. I was expecting to get some, used ones that Renato over there maybe had squirreled away for a long time. He didn't even mention to me that they were new. So they showed up today, and I was impressed with how they looked, and I texted Renato and said, hey, do you know who made these? And he's basically like, yeah, us. So I was like, cool. Anyway, long story short, if anyone needs single port Kadron manifolds, boom, Brothers Machine Shop. That having been said, they did need a little bit of work, which I'm just thankful that they're available. So let me show you what I did on these real quick. So one thing is, you can see right here, I had to clearance the manifold a little bit because there wasn't really enough room for the nut in there. And so yeah, I had to kind of carefully grind the manifold. The manifolds are pretty thick, so I'm nowhere near busting through there. If you do this on your own and you go too crazy and you bust through, don't blame me, but the material is pretty thick. If you do this, go a little bit at a time until the nut will clear. So on both manifolds, which are the same, by the way, there's no difference between left and right. The one on, if you're facing the manifold this way, the one on the right needed quite a bit of clearancing, and the one on the left needed much, much less. Probably would have been okay with none, but I went ahead and did it a little bit anyway. So yeah, that is pretty much what they needed. There was also a little, well, you can't see it, but underneath here, there's a little like collar that kind of goes down that mates with the crush gasket in there. And it had, like, you see this little, I don't know, little line on the casting right there. That line extended down onto that little collar that sticks down, and I was afraid that might be actually like interfering with the port on the head a little bit, as far as like seating down in there. So I kind of shaved those clean. You'll see what I'm talking about if you get a pair of these. I just cleaned that up and then clearance these. And then the only other thing I did was, again, that little like sleeve or whatever you want to call it that extends down below this flange. I chamfered the edge of it a little bit because, again, I was afraid that it might like try and hang up on the edge of the cylinder head. So just put like ever so slightly chamfer on that, and that way making sure that when you tighten this thing down, that little lip or whatever you want to call it like goes down in there and fully engages the crush washer. So little details like that, guys. Takes a long time, but if you really want the best result, then it's all in the details. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on these manifolds getting them to my liking. But that having been said, bitchin' manifolds, super thankful that those guys are actually making this, because single port Kadron manifolds, no one else is making them that I know of, and good used ones are fairly impossible to find. So good on those guys for making them, even if you do have to clean them up a little bit. 100% worth it, because good luck finding a used set. Anyway, So let's see, what else? The only other thing I had to do was I did have to, in fact, you can see some of my silver Sharpie marking on there. I did have to trim the cylinder tin a little bit around there. It was hitting, but like maybe by a millimeter or so. But again, my concern is the manifold going down and fully mating with the crush washer in there and making a good seal and not getting hung up on like the tin or whatever. So yeah, take your time and clearance the tin so that it's fully clearing the manifold when you shove the manifold down in there and go to actually bolt it out. These are just sitting on here now, needless to say. There's no hardware on them. But the only other thing, the other thing that I did was, these are pretty thick, and I did put in longer studs on the manifold. Initially I backed out the studs that were in there, and I'm sure they had more than enough meat on them down in the head. But, you know, again, we don't like to take chances, so I found studs in our stash that were 5 millimeters longer, and so, you know, drove them down in there and had that much more bite down in the head, because these need to be pretty tight. I mean, that's your intake, and there's a lot of weight trying to flop around up here. So I wanted to make sure I had plenty of stud down in the head, which the heads are, of course, are aluminum, and that's kind of a lot to support. So again, went ahead and put longer studs in there, so I was plenty far down in the head. So yeah, all those details like that, guys, just kind of time consuming, but that's how you do the job right. Here's the other thing that I did not expect, and this is why I test fit literally everything on, especially on a project like this where it's not, you know, stock parts. I do like a dry fit, test fit, whatever you want to call it, on everything. And I found a pretty huge issue with this Flat-4 Abarth style muffler, and that is that basically this flange right here, when I slid the muffler on, was basically touching the heater box over here. It was, so this flange all the way up here. And so that's no good, because in this space, and the muffler will actually go in that way a little bit further, about to where I have this line drawn when everything's all tightened up and stuff. But basically you have to have enough room between this flange and here for that woven kind of donut thing, and then there's like a beveled washer that goes in there, and that stuff all kind of butts up against the flange on the muffler, and then you tighten it down with those clamps, and that's what squeezes that sort of woven donut thing in there and forms your exhaust seal. So for whatever reason, I get Flat-4 made this tube on this side the same length as the tube on this side. Well, guess what? On this side, the heater box sits back that way, you know, 1/2 inch, 6/10 of an inch or so, because the cylinder head sits back further. So this tube was actually okay on this side, but having this exact same tube on this side, you can see I'm holding my fingers very accurately here, it put it right up to here. So there was absolutely no room for the donut in there. And in fact, even worse, when I butted this all the way up against here initially, this was not even all the way up against the cylinder head. Even when I shoved it all the way this way, which again didn't leave any room for the gasket, the seal in there, there was still a gap in here. So, you know, anyway, so I took a bunch of measurements, and I took the muffler over to my friends at Washburn's Metal, and they basically cut this piece off and shortened it per my specs, and then tack welded it on. I went and I picked it up, put it on the motor, test fit it. It was perfect. Took it back to them, and they re-TIG welded it on. Brought it back, shot some high heat paint on it, boom, ready to install. So the other thing that I had them do on this motor is to eliminate the heat riser tubes, because we're not using those. So you can see where we removed one here, they welded that closed, and then the other one was coming from like back here somewhere. So yeah, kind of cleaned that up. But yeah, the major thing is this muffler literally would not have gone on without fixing it. So a little irritating, because these mufflers are literally $900, and I would kind of expect that it would fit for that much money. So we're, another, I don't know what Brian charged me, 120 bucks or something into this muffler to basically fix their mistake. So yeah, we'll probably send that information to Flat-4 and let them know what's going on. It's definitely not the heater box too, because I tried another heater box off another car and exact same issue. So doesn't seem to be an issue with the heater boxes. I think if somebody ran like a regular J-tube here where they eliminated the heater boxes, it wouldn't be an issue, because then you wouldn't have this sort of hard stop here. You just have a tube. But to me, part of the point of running a muffler like this is that you can retain your heat, which is exactly what we want to do here. So it should definitely fit. What else, guys? Yeah, so other than that, just, I had test fit all the tin and stuff before, so all that's going on very nicely. But again, pretty much spent today wrestling with the exhaust and trying to figure out a plan for that, and then getting with Washburns and having them do that, and then kind of fine tuning the fitment of the manifolds and the tin and stuff like that. So again, very time consuming, but that's how you get a good result, I guess. Take your time, test fit once, twice, 3 times until everything's perfect, and then it should bolt together pretty easy after you take care of all the little gremlins with it. So that was pretty much my day. Let's go outside for a second and I'll show you some more bus interior. All right, hey guys, we're back. So yeah, today Santiago basically finished the headliner in the rear area here, and then reinstalled this wooden piece here. And so now that he's finished the headliner, he is working on the seats. So last I saw, he was in the process of putting the horsehair or coconut hair fiber pads on the seats and trimming those and shaping them and stuff like that. So seats for this thing should be coming along here. So guys, I believe that is it for today. Renee is painting I think the doors and the deck lid and maybe the hood for the orange Ghia, and a bunch of little things like hinges and stuff like that. So that is also kind of happening in the background. So lots going on here, guys, as usual. And as usual, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.